Good morning. Denise Dryden here. Welcome to 2022. This is the first video for this year. I am going to continue to do weekly videos. This will be my 6th year starting them, or starting yet again. And we also have a new moon today at 11:34 Mountain Time, so in about an hour and a half. So we're starting a new phase of the moon. We're also starting a new year, and we're in January, and it's time to put on our warm sweaters because it was cold last night. So first and foremost, I wanted to sort of hone in that for those of you who are new to this channel, this place, I'm a coach. I'm an integrational coach, and I work with specifically 3 different kinds of things. Expanding your own self-knowledge, whether it's through Chiron or through tarot or through some places where we can just keep going into who you are and what you know about yourself. Number 2, learning how to be adaptable and responsive and using skills and tools to be able to do that. Like what happens when something comes at us and we need to adjust and hold our strength. And then the third thing is following the energetic shifts that are happening as a result of these progressive frequency increases that are coming to us through these new energy kids. So those are the ways that you can work with me if you're interested, and you can follow this and you know that that's sort of going to be the focus of what I talk about each week. So I want to talk about today when it's not personal. And so to start with, there are those times when we take off and we go on a long summer vacation or a summer camp, or we go away to college, or we go abroad, or we do something. We leave for a year to go take a job in another state, and then we come back. And what we know is we meet a lot of new people and we take on a lot of energies that are different than the people we were hanging out with. And so what happens is when we come back, there's some things that are very different, and there are some things that are still similar and familiar, right? I want to take that and move that over to, during this pandemic, during these last 2 years, we've had various levels of isolation, various levels of quiet, sequestered internal work. And so what we've been doing is we've been learning how to separate us out from everybody else. Really, literally, who am I and who are they, over there? And what do I do with this information of who I am now that's separate from what I learned? So we're beginning to share space again, especially this was probably our first holiday season, Thanksgiving, during the holidays, during all of December, where we gathered with people we haven't seen for a couple of years, or we got to sort of relax and gather, or there was very, limited ways to gather, but we still started to interact. And some of us noticed, I'm different, they're different, something's off. Maybe it's an odd feeling, maybe there's some unclarity, maybe you're uncertain, but there's something there. And so did you notice that something has changed? And when something's changed, it's like, well, what is that? What could possibly be going on with you and your family, with you and your kids, or your work, or your friends? Something's different. So we are energetic beings, right? And we have vibrational frequencies, and they emit a level of vibration, a vibrational energy, and we either align or we repel off of those. It's supernatural to approach, which is it happens naturally in every environment, in everything. Either we're drawn to the vibration, or we are repelled by it, or we get together and we start to hone our vibration and we hang out together. So we respond on a vibrational level to each other. Vibration doesn't have, opinions. It doesn't have words. It doesn't have personalities that can reflect on us, right? So when we change, or when we shift, or when we grow and our environment changes and we realign, what happens is our vibration changes. And so, on so many levels, this isn't personal. There's a vibrational shift, and I've expanded, or I've gotten happier, or I've gotten sadder, or I've gotten more curious, and that means the vibration has changed. And this is organic, right? So and this is something we encounter every day. So when we are reliant on the external world You know, like if I go into the coffee shop and people smile, I'm good, right? Or if my children look at me a certain way, I'm good. If my partner looks at me a certain way, I'm good. So people, places, and things. You know, when we have a reaction to others and they feed us, then there's an external feedback. And what we, sort of have to keep in mind is that over the last decades, over the last centuries, we have been conditioned to use the external as a feedback mechanism. We're also in Capricorn. In Capricorn, both the Capricorn new moon, Capricorn as a zodiac sign for this month, and what I love is the Osho deck on Capricorn, and I used this last year, but I just love it. It's what happens when all of the conditionings, all of the ways that the external, we sort of outgrow it. And this is a lioness, and she's just, she probably started as a really cute little kitten, smaller than the sheep, and then slowly over time, as she's been expanding and expanding and expanding into herself, she's had to start figuring out how to accommodate the external so that she can still fit in. And the inevitability is that there's going to be a point where she can't. And so it's not personal. She's just a different kind of vibrational energy. Make sense? I love this. So when we've been conditioned to value the external, then there's other physical constructs around us, and when they change, we get rattled. We go into a lack of self-worth. Like, oh, they don't like me anymore. And we can fill in the blank on all of those things on the external that keep reminding us that we're off, as opposed to we're changing from the external. And when this external feedback hits us a certain way, we take it personal. So whether it's a disagreement with the direction of work with your coworkers, whether it's a pushback from a team, whether it's distancing or distraction, or even remoteness from a lover or a partner, or when an audience that you're used to, the soccer teams, the sports groups, the coffee shops, I'm the coffee shop queen, right? When there's something that there's a reaction there, you kind of sit back and you go, well, I don't know what's going on. So we take these external reactions personally, and we allow them to shape our confidence, our self-esteem, and even our personal comfort. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 agreements, because when we take the 4 agreements, they start at the top with the warrior, then they go over to the king, or they start, I've laid the tarot cards out with that and sort of played with them. But what happens is we deal with the masculine first. So the masculine is always do your best. That's the prince, that's the warrior. Then you go over to the far right, which is the king, and the visionary, which is to be impeccable with your word. These are both things that affect the external world on the outside. When we shift and we have to start going down deep, from the warrior down into the healer, the young woman, we don't take things personally. That energy, learning that when shifts happen, it's not about you, it's just energy. And then from there we go into the wise one, the queen, which is, all 3 of these sort of build up to the wise one, the sage, which is we don't make any assumptions, that any of those assumptions may not be accurate with who we are, right? So I'm going to do some tips, which I always do. I've got 5 of them for you. And I'm not going to do Tuesday's tools for a bit because I have other things I'm working on, and the universe just didn't sort of give me some feedback that that's what you all needed at this time. So 2 things. I'm writing an indigo book. After that's crystals. After that's rainbows. After that's diamonds. And I'm doing a YouTube series with Lisa M. Gunshore on January 19th at 5:30, and it's a joint YouTube presentation on the indigo frequency. And we're going to do that monthly for 11 months. So it's going to be really cool. So first tip is that if you have the 4 agreements, go get it out, dust it off. If you don't have the 4 agreements, buy it, download it, because it's a little tiny small book with so much wisdom about the journey that we're on right now, and it will help you. So that's the first thing, get the 4 agreements. Number 2, pay attention to how you gather information and interact. and how you stretch out, whether you're reading everybody, like your panic situation, like, oh no, this is what they're thinking, this is what they're doing. And how often you're paying attention to those external cues, right? How often something is happening that's letting you know, oh, I'm reading this, and I'm developing all these stories in my head. So all I want you to do with number 2 is pay attention to how often you're in that spot doing that, right? There. I was looking for a tissue. Hold on. Okay, so number 3, catch yourself stretching. Catch yourself identifying with the external and pull in to your center. Now, the center that I'm going to talk about is your high heart, which is right here below this little indent in your clavicle right here, and then your full heart, and then your solar plexus. So when you're lined up from this section right here, you can regulate your breathing and you can come into balance, and all of this helps you separate from the external information. Number 4, expand again if you want to, but from that center as an observer. Notice, without grabbing a hold of anything, just what's going on. And it's kind of like I always use this matrix slow motion sort of movement, which is like, you just let things go by and you go, wow, I'm noticing that there are some people who just keep watching me. And I could either feel like it's criticism, or I could just get curious, like, I wonder what's going on. So we let it fall away and we don't take it personally, right? Number 5, when we slow everything down and we collect it, we begin to normalize that this is how we do it. We dodge, we disengage, we respond from our center, not from our head and not from our ego, which is collecting data as to whether or not I'm okay. The reason that this is important is that we're going to start shifting off of the external and needing to go further and further internal. The Tower card here is when you're alive on the inside and you're getting data and information from above, and people, places, and things are just falling off. They're falling away. So many of you have noticed that marriages are falling apart, relationships are falling apart, parent-child distancing. You can't even go into work anymore. It doesn't feel good. What's happening is as we upgrade, as our frequencies shift up and they expand, all of the world that no longer aligns with that starts to shift and change away from that as well. So what we're notice is that there's going to be a lot of physical reactions to the outside, changes, reveals, even alarms like, hey, did you know this? So when you get good at shifting to the inside and watching it without taking it personal, you can navigate through this with the feminine skills, which is don't take it personal and make no assumptions. You don't know what's really going on in that other person. So this is the kind of stuff that I do each week. By all means, subscribe, like, do whatever you need to do so that you can get the notifications for these each week. And I will look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Have a great week. Have a happy new moon and take care. Bye-bye.